What's up, guys? Sub-Zero here, back for my patch 14.3 tier list. This was overall a small patch. Riot didn't want to shift stuff up too much before a lot of regions, regional patches and, going into the World Championship. They didn't want to do anything too crazy, but, nerfs to a lot of the overperforming stuff like Heartsteel, like Twin Tear, buffs to some of the weaker stuff like Twisted Fate. So I'm going to take you into my patch 14.3 tier list. This is on Tactor, like all of my tier lists have been recently. I even have little links in the guide to video guides that I've written, or if I've written another Tactor guide on the guide, I have the guides in there. So I think it's a really nice resource for you guys to go click into. I have, the units BIS, the builds, all that, so you can just have this on your other monitor while you're playing. And if you do open up the Tactor guide, I would just ask that you click this like button on the Tactor guide. It helps me out an insane amount. So please go and click the like button. That being said, I am going to close this preview so I can look at like all of the team builders for all these in case I want to bring units, take units out, and let's just go into the tier list. So first, I have this Twin Terror version of Executioner, Vex, and Twitch. As usual, we go from what, in my opinion, is the 5th strongest comp down to the 1st strongest comp. This comp was hit pretty hard in the patch. They nerfed Executioner at 4 and 6, and they nerfed Twin Terror. That being said, I still think it's going to be a strong comp. It's just that, on this patch, if you hit Twin Terror, you might just win the game for free. I don't think that's going to be the case anymore, but I still think this comp's going to be very strong. A lot of people really advocate for Hodge on these units just because a little bit of healing means that they're going to survive longer. A little bit of mana means that they're actually going to get that first cast off. I really like when you clump these units up so that you can get that full value on the Vex cast, on the Twitch cast. Red buff fine on Twitch to spread damage, GS fine on both. Static Shiv is really nice to give you some shred on this board, and also a little bit of mana attack speed on Vex, and then Death Cap's just a solid item. And then Amumu really likes Gargoyles because he is often your solo frontline in this build. So this is the Twin Terror version. If you want to play the Executioner version without Twin Terror, very easy. You still want an Executioner chosen, but instead of playing the Twin Terrored up units, we're just going to add in Executioner units. So, we would have in a Karthus here, and we would have in a Samira if I can find her. Yeah. And so you just play around 6 Executioner, and it's completely fine. So that's if you don't have Twin Terror. If you do have Twin Terror, then obviously Twin Terror your backline, because it gives some really good stats to them. So either version is completely playable. I think this comp is not going to be like the hard force that it once was, but if you end up in a good spot for it, if you hit a Vex chosen or a Twitch chosen, it's going to be very strong. You can use these punk rolls to fuel your rolling during stage 3 and stage 4 so that you can slowly get to these units. The other nice thing is that with this comp not being as broken, it being a reroll comp, it's going to be a lot less contested. So it's going to be a lot easier for you to find that Vex 3, Twitch 3, Amumu 3 that really are important for this comp. Also, just an important side fact, you see that I have all these items on Amumu. Don't worry about itemizing Pantheon. This unit is an absolute fraud. So yeah, please don't itemize this Pantheon unit. He's just so weak with items. So pretty much always put your tank items on Amumu, and then Vex and Twitch. Either one can be your main carry. You can even do Samira main carry, cut the 2 Twitches and play around Samira. But I think Twitch is really nice to sort of stabilize you during stage 3. It's very often that you hit like an Executioner Twitch chosen, and you just play that throughout the entire game, let that stabilize you through stage 3, early stage 4, and then that gets you to like the stage 5, end of stage 5, and you can start hitting stuff like Vex and Amumu 3. So that's what I'm thinking about this comp. Definitely weaker, but still absolutely playable. Going on to number 4, we have Disco Twisted Fate, a comp that, dominated the meta a patch, I guess 2 patches ago at this point, but then really fell out of the meta last patch because they hit him really hard with nerfs. But they've rebuffed Twisted Fate, so I think this comp will come back into the meta. The extra like sort of cast speed by reducing his max mana is going to be really nice for getting that first Twisted Phase cast, which I think is really important to get that Dazzler onto the enemy backline. That's really nice if you can position TF in a spot where, we can hit like enemy backline, he's on the left side and they're on the left side. That's really nice for Twisted Fate. And we saw on the last patch that this comp was still playable. It's just that it wasn't as strong. The big issue for this comp is with the nerfs to Twisted Fate, it no longer stabilizes really hard. on level 8 during stage 4, because the comp's still really strong early game. If you get a Nami with, say, this Shojin and Nashor's Tooth, like a Disco Nami with Shojin Nashor's Tooth early, you're often going to 5-streak because he's just going to perma-CC any melee carries and do just a ton of work. So this comp is still really strong like stage 2 and early stage 3. And it's really strong late game, like stage 5 and 6, once you start getting in these 5 costs. You see I have a Lowy in here, but late game, if you want to really cap out this board, you're going to end up cutting the Nami, you're going to end up cutting the Taric, we're going to drop down to only 3 Disco, don't worry too much about that, and then we're going to get in a bunch of 5 costs. So we're going to get in Ziggs for Dazzler, we are going to get in Sona eventually over Lulu, to cap out the board really high, and then also over the Taric, you get in Kiana. This is like the really capped version of this board, playing around all the 5 costs that you can, and obviously you don't have to play around this Disco Ball, so you know these guys can end up moving up to the front line. This is like the capped version of the board, and then you like Sona will get stuff like Gwinsu's and things like that. So this is like the giga capped version of the board. And so if you can get to 9 and play around this version, you are absolutely chilling. Just to like pivot back into the old version. So this was Lulu, this is Nami, and then this is Taric. This version, I think, you know, on 8, it'll do you fine. Like you're not gonna die with this board on 8, but you do need a lot of HP or econ to be able to go 9, because if you just get stuck on 8 on this comp, where the heck is Nami? There she is. If you just get stuck on 8 on this comp, you are going to have a bad time. So keep that in mind. This is really a comp that still wants to go 9. Twisted Fate loves a Morello to spread out heal cut because he can hit so many different units, and then just Shojin Nashors get some casting quickly. Other stuff like Archangels is completely fine. Never build blue buff on this unit is horrible. Red buff can be a decent replacement for Morello. Stuff like Static Shiv usually I would just place onto like the Lulu or someone else, but it's fine. Speaking of Lulu, really important, keep Lulu 2 in over Sona 1 in almost all scenarios. This Sona 1 unit has been nerfed so hard that it's just not really worth playing her. Once you hit Sona 2, you can cut the Lulu for Sona. The other thing is that, you know, when you have Lulu, if you ever end up getting a Ziggs, that's hyper pop. That's 2 hyper pop for your board, which is really nice. And also be careful about where you're positioning your hyper pop. You really want it to be hitting Twisted Fate and, you know, any other backliner. If you have like Ziggs as well, then you want it to hit Twisted Fate and Ziggs. So be careful about what your Lulu is closest to. Obviously, Lulu is closest to TF here, so she's going to be giving TF value. The other thing to point out is this balls positioning, where you put the 2 disco balls next to each other. I think this is really good positioning versus the Ezreal boards, because it's going to make it very hard for the Ezreal to just get one big whoosh that goes through your entire team and hits everything. So I really like this positioning. It also makes swaps really easy. If you're stuck with like a disco ball here and disco ball here, your TF, like all you can do is like really swap them back and forth. But if you're positioned like this, boom, easily Twisted Fate's almost in the other corner. Really fast swapping. So that's one reason I really like this positioning. I default to this a lot. There are, of course, situations where you just want to have like the really strong front line. If there's like a front to back comp that you're really worried about, like a KD, not KD Akali, actually Executioner Akali's, well, they're all Executioner. True damage Akali is what I'm thinking of, who's just going to go through your front line. It's nice to just have a really strong front line. So a front line disco ball, like a disco ball up here, would be really nice versus that kind of setup. But yeah, I fully expect this comp to come back into the meta a bit. It was already showing in the meta a little bit last patch, so I think it'll be quite playable this patch, and probably fly under the radar for a little while because it was so weak last patch. I'm sorry, my phone text tone sound effect. I'll scroll to the next comp and then silence it. And the next comp is an oldie but a goodie. This is Pentakill, a comp that I know a lot of people might hate. It received some nerfs on this patch, so don't start typing your angry letter to Mortdog right now. It received some nerfs on this patch. Karthus got nerfed basically to make his first cast a bit weaker, and Mordekaiser's damage got nerfed. That being said, I don't think these are enough nerfs to actually take this comp out of the meta. I still think it is very strong if you can get online to everything, the Karthus 2, Viego 2, and the Akali 2. I do think Karthus 2 is really necessary in this comp, or else he's just basically healing the backline, and maybe with these new changes, that's even more apt that, you know, if you have a Karthus 2 with these changes, now it's going to be really hard for him to kill stuff. So definitely try to get that Karthus 2 online, whether that's Headliner Karthus or just having a lot of gold, being able to push level 8, level 9, that kind of stuff, because, yeah, stuck on Karthus 1 feels very bad in this comp. But outside of that, you just play around your super fans. You can replace any of these items with Superfan items, though I would really be interested in keeping a mana item on Karthus. You can even go double mana item on him, so like cutting something like a JG and playing something like a Shojin here is completely fine and maybe even ideal on someone like Karthus. I just have the JG in because it is very core on him if you can't get to Akali. You need some form of crit on him. The nice thing is that we're already playing Executioner, but if you don't get to Akali for some reason, absolutely put JG on this unit because he needs the ability for his spell to crit. All that being said, you know, just put your AD frontliner items on Akali or Viego. They both carry pretty similar items. You know, red buff can go on Viego, it can go on Akali. You can put Titan's Resolve on Viego. It's a little bit better on him than Akali. It's not amazing on Akali. You could put something like an Edge of Night on Viego. Sterax is quite good on both of them. BT completely fine. I like Hodge, but BT solid as well. So yeah, not much to be said about their itemization. Just put your AD, you know, bruiser, brawler type items on them. And then Yorick is a really fantastic way to cap out the comp because he fills in the synergies so well. He's your 5th Pentakill, he's Guardian, and he's Mosher with these Superfan units that we have in here. And he can start taking items late game if you can potentially get him to 2-star. And he takes similar items, except that Titan's Resolve is slightly better on him, on him. So, you know, some setup like this is probably ideal, but, you know, it's often hard to get to itemizing all of them and itemizing Yorick. If you're at that point, you're probably doing very well. So yeah, not too much to say about this comp. Still very strong, still great. I got a tactor guide to it, so click on that for more in-depth information. And with all these guides, like I said, I have a YouTube video that shows someone playing the comp. So if you have never played this comp before, check out the YouTube video and you can see what someone actually playing the comp looks like. Moving up to our second strongest comp. This comp has been dethroned. This is Heartsteel Ezreal and Zed. This comp was nerfed this patch. Very good. They nerfed the amount of hearts that you get late game when you kill units, which is really good because there were some egregious examples where you'd play 5 Heartsteel late game and you would just farm up a ton of Heartsteel stacks while winning, which is insane. And they nerfed set pretty hard, which is going to hit this comp's mid game a lot. So very good, very good nerfs to this comp. But crucially, this Poppy unit is unnerfed and this Zed unit is unnerfed. These two units, I think, are what creates the foundation of why this comp is so strong. Zed is insanely stable, even at 1 star with good items, and if you hit a 2-star Zed, you are absolutely cruising. They buffed his headliner, saying that, you know, like his headliner effect was a little bit hard to understand, so they buffed it, which I don't really get. I think this unit absolutely needed a nerf. He was way out of line. This is the strongest 4 cost, in my opinion, in the entire game, because when you hit a Z1 stage 3, you just know that you are winning, like, all of the fights stage 3 into stage 4. And Poppy as well was eerily stable if you hit like a Poppy 2 with items, a Poppy headliner with items. So I'm not sure why these two pieces of the comp weren't hit a little bit. They don't have to be unplayable. I don't want to see this comp completely destroyed, but a little love tap to Poppy, a little love tap to Zed, I don't think would have been that bad, and buffing this Zed unit, I think, is egregious. So that's why I think this comp is the second strongest comp of the meta right now, because they nerfed some important factors in it. It is definitely still weaker, but keeping Poppy and Zed in their current state is just insane to me. Itemization-wise, Poppy loves HP. She really doesn't care about resists because of the way her spell works, where she gets those resists already. So a Warmogs is her best item by far. Evan Shroud is really nice on her, just to provide your board the Sunder, and you know it works for her damage as well. And then something like a Steadfast Heart is completely fine. Zed really loves Edge of Night. Outside of that, you can just go damage items on him. You can put a healing item on him if you feel that he's going to take a lot of damage. With the Edge of Night, he's going to have a decent amount of survivability, but you can replace either of these items for something like a BT or Hodge. You can even go like an IE Hodge setup, which is completely fine. And speaking of IE, very core on Ezreal. Red buff IE. You need the heal cut on this board. Red buff is fantastic on Ezreal, so I like it on him. If you can't get that, then maybe like a Morello, a Zac. You can Morello Ezreal as well, a Sunfire Zac. Those things kind of work, but red buff Ezreal definitely best. And IE so that his spell can crit and actually kill units is really important. Blue buff I think is the least important item on Ezreal. I would really stray away from trying to like build this blue buff early. Really find a red buff first and then find blue buff after, because blue buff's a lot more restrictive. You can only really go on Ezreal if you decide to play for like Caitlyn as your backline, then blue buff's horrible on her. So I would absolutely look at building red buff and IE first on Ezreal and then looking for blue buff later. So just keep that in mind as far as item prioritization. But this is still very, very strong Ezreal build. And if you can get the Satoru Gojo Ezreal build going, then you'll be a very happy Jujutsu sorcerer. All right, on to in my opinion, the strongest build this patch. Like, I woke up not that long ago, and my voice is still, I got the Valorant voice. Yeah, you doing anything after this game? This is the strongest build in my opinion. This is Superfan Reroll, the Seraphine version. So, talked about this comp in my last video. I put it number 2, I believe, but with the nerfs to this comp, I believe it is the strongest comp in the game. I don't think this is a very common opinion. I think a lot of people say that this comp is strong, but not necessarily the strongest. But it is. I don't know what to tell you. This comp stabilizes so disgustingly well off of a Seraphine headliner. If you can get these 2 items onto her stage 3, you are never going to lose a single fight. If you can hit a Seraphine 3, early stage 4, or even late stage 4, you're going to giga win streak through stage 4 into stage 5. It's just simply a broken comp. And it's really, really under the radar right now. I think there should be multiple people trying to angle this comp every game from like 2-1. Because like if you get a Morello drop, you should say I'm playing Seraphine from this spot. Like Morello plus tier should always be a Seraphine game, in my opinion, unless there's like 10 other people playing it. But I don't think people are playing that way right now. Or just a Shojin drop plus a Rod plus anything really. Like you can get to the Morello, you can get to a red buff as well as a replacement for Morello. So I think this comp should be way more contested than it is. Abuse it for free LP if you're playing the game right now. Just play around Superfan units early, and then 3-2, try to pick up a Seraphine headliner. If you miss on Seraphine, completely fine. There are a lot of other 2 costs that are completely viable. Senna, Kai'Sa can fit into this board really, really easily. Bard fits in really easily. So like those can be really, really good item holders. And then you can just wait till the end of stage 3, and then roll on level 6 at 4-1 for a Seraphine headliner. You do need to roll at level 6 because the odds of finding a 2-cost headliner are much better at level 6 than level 7. So keep that in mind. And then you can do the rest of your rolling at level 7 if you have enough Seraphines that you're confident that you're going to hit her. Like you can, if you have 6 Seraphines, you can push 7, as long as you have enough gold to still hit. Because the odds for hitting a 2-cost on level 6 versus level 7, it's almost exactly the same. It's 40% versus 35%. So still really, really easy to hit Seraphine on level 7. So I often push 7 in this comp because it allows you to get these units start up, allows you to find like stuff like Ahri and feel really good, and then you just play for whatever your Seraphine is headlinered. You know, if you have Spellweaver, you can play for 5 Spellweaver. If you have KDA, you can play for 5 or even 7 KDA, which is really, really solid. I do think in this comp, I think Echo's a stronger unit than Nico, but if you do have the KDA version, it is really, really solid to just put your items on Nico. So something to keep in mind. It's really like Spellweaver version, itemize Echo, KDA version, itemize Nico, but it's also like honestly more simple than that. It's like if you hit an Echo to first put your items on Echo, and if you hit a Nico to first put your items on Nico, they're both fantastic carries, and you want to play for both of them 3-star late game to actually win out on this board. This is the Seraphine version of the comp, but I'll do this for you guys real quick. This is a bonus comp that's only going to be in the video. There is another version of this comp that I think is really, really, really strong. These are the super fans that I believe you play in it. This is the Kayle version of the comp, and so you just want to be able to get in. Mordekaiser's going to go up here. You just want to be able to get in Superfans plus Kayle because Kayle Superfan item is Gwinsu's Rage Blade. So something like this, and then once again, if it's Pentakill Kayle, then you can just add an Olaf and get 5 Penta in. If it is Edgelord Kayle, then you can just get in any Edgelord. It can be like a Yasuo, it can be like a Riven. So just play for whatever your Kayle is I was going to say headlinered, which I don't think is how you use that, but ideally you get the Pentakill version and you play like this. Items wise, she really, really likes Gunblade. She's going to get Gwinsu as her headliner item always. She really likes Gunblade. And then last item is pretty flex. I like Archangels a lot. You can also go another Gwinsu's Rage Blade. Really whatever. But yeah, I like Archangel, Gwinsu, Deathcap are like the options that I prefer a lot. But this is another very, very, very strong version of the comp. The only hard part is you don't want to play this when there are a lot of Pentakill people in the lobby because they're going to eat up all your Kayles, and it's going to be really annoying if you're trying to roll for this comp and there's 9 Kayles out of the pool. That's going to be really tough. So keep your eyes peeled if there are other people playing around Kayle, but this comp is very, 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 very strong. The only downside with this comp is there is a bug with Guinsoo, and there's 2 bugs with Guinsoo actually that are pretty funny. So I'm sure you guys have seen the bug where if you have 2 Guinsoos on a Kayle, one of them will show with 0 stacks. That is actually just a visual bug. If Kayle is auto-attacking and you see the Superfan version or the normal version, I forget which one it is, but if you see one of them not stacking up while she autos, that is just a visual bug. There is nothing to worry about there. There is a second bug where sometimes one of Kayle's Guinsoos will reset its stack. You'll see it stacking up, boom, 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 up to like 16, 20 stacks or something, and then it'll reset back to 0 stacks. I don't know the exact details of this bug. I heard once that it was due to like Pentakill getting procced. I heard another time that it was due to units being summoned, like summon units from something like a Yorick. I don't know the exact cause of it, but it is a bug that exists in the game, and there is nothing you can really do about it. This comp is strong despite that bug, but, you know, if that bug was not in the game, then the comp would be even stronger. So, you know, just something to keep in mind is that, yeah, this thing is certainly bugged, and it might cost you some fights late game, and you might get mad, and just, you know, don't at Mort Dog, is all I'll say. But yeah, those are, in my opinion, the strongest comps. I'm going to delete this now so that only you guys can see it, only the YouTube viewers can see it. The Tactor people don't get this secret extra little bit of the guide. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. Once again, links to everything in the comp. Please go click on the like button in the guide. It will help me out a great deal. And yeah, happy climbing on the patch. I'll see you guys later.